I'm so excited. This is the first time that I've gone outside the industry to invite someone, and I just couldn't think of anybody better. I've followed Rob for, gosh, I don't know, maybe 10 years now, since I was first privileged to hear him speak at Berkshire Hathaway, and have just really enjoyed. Every Sunday evening, I look forward to getting your Consider This email. Always just some serious food for thought. So I'm so excited that you were my first guest outside the industry to come on, and what a heavy hitter that we have, for sure.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
I also have to say thank you to everybody who has been a part of this program. We started this program in December 2020, actually. With my good friend Myers Barnes, and this thing has just grown and gotten ahead of steam. And now I'm happy to say that we are a silver award winner for the Nationals. The gold will, of course, be given out in Vegas at the February 2nd, I believe it is. So super excited about that. And if you're going to be at the Nationals all gussied up, I will look forward to seeing you in person, because I will definitely be there. And then quick little announcements of who we are and our introductions here. So kind of keep this pretty loose, but this is how you can reach me. For those of you who don't know me, I founded New Home Solutions with the challenge for today's market, knowing that not only do you need sales, but you need profitable sales that you can deliver. And in order to do that, we have to get into the nitty gritty. So it's your systems, it's your procedures, it's everything that supports getting you those sales. So when you're ready to make sure that sales is the engine that drives your train rather than running it off the tracks, just give me a call. And Rob, guys, this bio, if I read this bio, we'd be here. It's amazing. So I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his journey. And here's how you can reach him.
Well, you got my information in front of you, and by the way, please contact me at any time. I would love to chat with you or share information with you. And you can also go to my website, and I have a newsletter that I put out. She was talking about Consider This, and there's about 135 articles that are there that use them. I mean, copy them. Don't worry about plagiarism or copyright. It's all there for information that'll make you better at what you do. But to kind of give you a little history, I started my first business when I was 24 years old, and grew that company, and then sold it to my partner, and then started 4 more businesses, from selling worldwide in 20 different countries to manufacturing furniture for the wholesale hotel industry, and sold that company. And so I've owned 4 different companies, and this is my 5th, but that's my speaking business, so I don't really count that as the company. So I've kind of, I've had employees. I've understand what it is to grow a business from scratch. I did it 4 different times, and ended up selling those companies, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So I got into the speaking business 30 years ago. It's a very backward industry. You have to have a video to get booked. You have to have a booking to get a video. So you got to figure that out, which is really hard to do. But it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to share the story that I had, because I remember my first book, How to Soar Like an Eagle in a World Full of Turkeys. I wrote that book because I wish somebody would have told me these things when I'd gotten into the business. It was 47 chapters on, and they're short, they're quick, they're easy, to kind of tell you what you need to know that's going to make you more successful. And it cuts to the chase quickly. And so, and then when I got into the industry, you write more books, and she's showing some of the on the screen there, some of the things that I had written. In my last book, Raise Your Line, I'll give you an anecdote on that. I had trouble naming the book. And my son, I was talking to him one day in my office, and he was getting ready to graduate from Florida State, and he was getting ready to go out in the business world. And I said, Tyler, you're getting ready to go out in the business world. How do you go about making a decision? Now, I've been a business speaker my entire life, and he's been around me his entire life. So he's probably going to say something that I've probably said, and I'm going to be so proud that he just fed back to me something I taught him years ago. And Tyler looked at me and make a decision. He said, it's all about raising your line. And I looked at him and I went, what? I never said it in my life. I had no clue what he was talking about. He said, Dad, life is about a line. He says, you're born, you die. It's a line. I'm going, this is not going well. I'm not real excited about that analogy. He said, but if you do something good, your line goes up. If you do something bad, your line goes down. Well, I would never want my line to go down. And so when I was trying to think about naming my book, I remember my one of my agents said, you've written a lot of books and you got articles, there's got to be something there that would, that has the most impact. And I kept looking at all the different things that I had written about, and it was the article that I'd written about my son about raising your line. And that's how I read that book, that I wrote that book. Because in fact, when you read the book, there's boxes in the book that you kind of highlight the 100 different things that I think you can do that make you more successful. So in short, I started my own companies, I grew them, I sold them, and then I got into the speaking business because I felt like I had something I wanted to share. And then that's what I've done ever since, over 2,500 companies and in 16 different countries, trying to tell people or share with people how to do it. But I think the thing that's made me successful is that I don't do a generic program. Everything I do is customized. So I pick up the phone, I call my client, and I interview a lot of their people, and I ask questions, and then I shut up and listen. I learned a long time ago, you can't learn anything when your voice is engaged. So I would ask them questions about how they were good. So in my programs, when I'm doing my speaking engagements, that's one of the things I share with my audience. I sit there and I tell them, look, this is not me telling you, you need to do this because I'm really good. I've interviewed over 10,000 people, employees, managers, and senior executives, and asked them, how did you become so successful? And then I write down what they say and listen, because these are some really, really smart people that help me get better at what I do. So that's what I share with my people. So that's the kind of a real short story of how I got to where I am right now.
Because if you haven't read the book, I love this. I love the title of how to soar like an eagle. The whole thing is certainly catchy. So, and in a world full of turkeys, I will tell you, it's an easy read as far as the short chapters, but if you really listen to what's in each one of these chapters, it's not an easy read because there's some gut punches. There's some, hey, I need to stop and I need to think about this. And how is this really impacting what I do on a daily basis? So very good stuff. And I'm just starting. I didn't get it in time to finish it before this program because I've been on the road. But I'm reading this one, and it's one of the one I can't put it down. Like I'm already started highlighting it. I've got paper clips and all over it. So I strongly encourage you to get those. And of course, you can visit Rob's website, and he has a store right there. So it makes it super easy for you to get them. And again, this client list is incredibly impressive. So thank you very much for being on. Last little bit of housekeeping. I do want to let everybody know, because we're talking about leadership today. I started something this fall, and I see we've got a couple of people on that are part of this program, but the Lead from the Side Academy. And I started this as a small mentorship. It's peer-led for anybody who is aspiring to become a sales leader in this industry, or maybe you're already a sales leader and you're just looking to raise your line, if you will. And they're small groups of 5 or 6 so that everybody gets a chance to shine. It's not one of these big mastermind groups where you have 20 or 30 people or more. And then you end up with wallflowers. Nobody gets a chance to be a wallflower in this. It's true. It's a true inspiration to me, the success that I'm seeing with the people, and I'm learning so much from the participants in the program, as well as, guiding the material, but really it's that feedback and that interaction, and it just it gives me so much energy. So contact me if you're interested in learning more about this program, but I'm just again, I'm really super excited about it. And it's something that I start a few times a year, so there'll be several groups of them going on. So that being said, I'm going to take the screen, the slides down now. So it's just you and me, mano a mano here. So let's talk about leadership.
All right.
And I do see that. Thank you for those of you who chimed into the chat. So we've got looks like we've got some people from all different. Got builder owners, we've got sales consultants, area managers, and a lot of raving fans for you, for sure. So let's talk about what leadership means to you, Rob. When you hear that word leadership, what does that mean?
I think one of the biggest problems with leadership is that people think it has to do with authority. And if you want to become a leader, you want to become a leader because you want to tell people what to do. Leadership, and some of you have heard it before, is to me is a servant situation. You're there to help, teach, get them to grow, care, have compassion, have empathy, to make them better. A true leader to me is a person who makes other people better. And that's what leadership to me is all about. I mean, when I look at people, and a lot of times I'll have the opportunity to go on a tour before my program, and the CEO will walk me around and show me all the things that they're doing, and I'll look out in front of me, and I'll be seeing people just kind of dodging and getting out of the way because, oh God, here comes the boss, here comes the boss, here comes the boss, and it's good God, don't say anything to him because he's the boss. And if that's the attitude of the cultures in your country, in your company, that's all wrong. To me, it's you got to have people that I say create the want to, not the have to. It's not how people perform while you're there; it's how they perform when you're not there. In fact, my son is 6'7", big boy, and
Wow.
yeah, he's a big boy. And I found a long time ago one way that I could really get his attention. You're not going to yell at him and scream at him, and people bow up when you do that. And so one of the words that I use that would really, really get to him was I say, "Boy, you really disappointed me," and then shut up, because he never wanted to disappoint me. And I learned that a long time when you talk about the people that work for you. In fact, when I do my speaking engagement, I have a thing called FUBARs, fouled up beyond all repair. And I'll tell managers, I say, why don't you take the mistakes that your company has made and why don't you put it in a book? And when you hire somebody, you sit there and say, you hand them the book and say, look, read these. You don't need to make these mistakes. We've already made them. Go make some new ones, okay? But it's amazing how so many companies don't have that. The leaders are not preparing the people for the mistakes that have already been made and making sure they don't happen again. And they're not giving them the necessary tools. So when you go to me and talk to me about leadership, to me, it's the old deal of the finger of blame. One goes out, three come back. I had a great mentor that taught me. He says, when your people fail, the first thing that you should say is, what have I done to cause them to fail? Not, oh, you did it. It's real simple. Oh, you did it. You did it. You did it. You did it. The finger of blame. It's real simple to blame other people. And when I see junior managers that are blame agents, I don't want them as senior managers. I don't need that. It's real simple to blame. I want solutions, and I want people to jump in and be able to share their ideas. So to me, that's what it's all about. It's about making people better at what they do. And when you do that, when you create that kind of culture, and when you care about their family, when you care about their children, when you hear them talking, and Johnny had to play a baseball game, and so the next day you walk by and say, by the way, did Johnny win the game? Because the most important thing to them is their children. And then all of a sudden you endear yourself to people, and when someone tries to hire them away, they won't leave because they love working for you. And I like to take that word out of there. No one ever worked for me, all right? They work with me. So that's the kind of culture that you want to create, so we're all in this together. And then they cover your back and you cover theirs. I could talk about this all day.
Oh, I know. This is stuff we get excited about. You said something there that I like. You said, here's the mistakes that we already made, so you don't have to make those. We already screwed that up. Go make some new ones. And I think that's we hire the right people, we give them the tools, we support them by having a relationship with them, but we also trust them to go and maybe make a mistake, and that's okay, or maybe do things differently than we would do them. Well, in fact, I encourage that because there's always a better way, right?
It's praise in public, criticize in private. I'll jump off the stage and I'll run out and I'll get in somebody's face and I'll sit there and say, and I'll start gnawing on them, and they're like, well, holy cow, and I'll start yelling and screaming and ranting and raving, and then I'll say, how do you feel? And they say, I hate you. I went, yeah. And I said, have you ever seen that done by a manager before? Oh, yeah. You get everybody in the audience. Oh, yeah. I'm going, how dare you ever take somebody down in front of somebody else? And I said, I'll give you an example. One of my people made a mistake. And so I called him into the office. And everybody's kind of like, oh, gosh, he's going to get in trouble. And then I'd ask a very simple question. What did we do? Now, a lot of people didn't really hear the key word there. I didn't say, what did you do? I said, what did we do? If they make a mistake, what did I cause them to fail? He said, well, I did this. You ever done that before? No. That's interesting. To me, a mistake is a learning experience. We've never done that before. So all of a sudden I sit there and say, you're good. And if you made that mistake, some of our other people could make that mistake. I need your help. What, boss? Take a day and go write a policy or procedure or something that can help us make sure no one ever makes a mistake in the company again. And bring it to me, and then we'll get that out to everybody. And by the way, keep up the good work. No, let's just gnaw on them. Let's just get in their face. Let's just rant and rave and scream at them, and then have them go work with their other employees and bring them down, or have them go work with customers and bring them down. No, when someone leaves your office, you've got to get them up before they go out, not take them down. It's amazing how people think that leadership is tearing people down. No, it's just the opposite. Now, if they're making a mistake, you identify the mistake. We need to work on this. All right. But I also try not to use the word change. You need to change this, and you need to change that. I'll sit there and say, if we tweak this a little bit, this will really do a lot better. And then ask them for their suggestion about how we should address something. Because when they think they're part of the solution, they'll make the solution work. But if it's, you need to do this, why? Because I'm the boss, I said so. Well, yeehaw for you. And I just don't find that kind of management works for me. I know there's a lot out there that sit there and say, I'm the one that's going to be accountable for everything. So I'm the one who's going to tell them what to do. Well, guess what? When you're not away, it's not going to get done. So as I said, create the want to, not the have to, and it works a lot better.
Yeah, when you start talking and say you need, I'm like, if you hear yourself saying you need to do anything, that should be one of those times when you perk up and go, wait a minute, I need to shift my paradigm and think about this a little differently. Because if that's a lecture when you start telling about a you need, and immediately when somebody tells me I need to do anything, being the type A personality that I am, I'm going to just shut right down.
Right.
Whereas, if somebody's asking me, okay, so that didn't go so well. What do we need to do? How are we going to fix this? We. And asking for, I'm already probably beating myself up if I made this mistake. Now, if I am asked, okay, so what worked, what didn't work, how can we move forward with this? That's just going to get a completely different result, and it's going to cause me to really think about it and analyze it. Do that post-mortem that I like to talk about with sales. What worked, what didn't.
I mean, you've got to find out. I remember there was a realtor that I worked with, and I asked her how she became successful. She said she called the people up that didn't buy the house, and she asked them why. She said about 35% to 40% of the time they wouldn't tell me. And then someone him and haw around, and she said, but maybe 20 to 30% of the ones would tell me why. And she said, that's how I became better. And I'll never forget, she said this one thing. She said, I asked this one couple, she said, why didn't you buy the house from me? She said, well, it didn't have your color sign. She said, excuse me? She said, well, your sign was blue and that sign was red. She said, but I can sell any house. You never told us that. We thought you could only sell the blue houses, the one with the blue signs. And this was the first time home buyer. And it was an amazing lesson to her that she lost a commission on the sale of the house. They would have given it to her, but she didn't. They didn't know that she could sell any house. And so when she asked those questions, you found out the postmortem on a sale is a fantastic way to make yourself better. Because what you're looking for the mistakes that you made. Tell me what I did wrong. And then that way I can make myself better.
We assume so many things, I think.
Oh, God.
So, and that gets you in real trouble every single time.
Yeah, it does. Oh, big time.
Yeah, but before we started today, we were talking about what you learned from your son, and I said my son has probably inspired about half of my material. So in his book, he talks about TCS training. So you want to tell us a little bit about that concept and
Well, it was a setup in the book. I sit there and I asked the question. I said, who do you learn from? And, do you learn from Socrates? Do you learn from Plato? Do you learn from universities? Do you learn this and learn that? And I come up with a list of all these things that I learned. And I said, and who did I learn this from? And it's an amazing list. But one of them is just and it's all things that we know, and being able to say thank you, and then having persistence. And then I put this long list in there, and I said, and where did I learn this from? I learned it from my 4-year-old. And it's kind of like, are you kidding me? Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how powerful it is to say the word thank you, but we forget. But when it comes out of the mouth of a 4-year-old, thank you, Daddy, I appreciate that. And you teach them that because they feed that back to you. And then persistence. You want to talk about persistence? The greatest salesperson in the world is a 4-year-old. They don't hear no. You just don't understand what I'm talking about here. We're going to get there eventually. I'm going to wear you down. Okay. And they just don't hear it. And so you want to talk about what you can learn from. I mean, just learn from a 4-year-old and pay attention to what they have learned and how they've improved. One of the biggest things is an adult knows about 20,000 words. But when we turn 30, we quit learning. We learn about 5 to 10 words per year. But in the first,
So
5 years of in the first 5 years of our life, we learn about 8,000 words. That little one learned 8,000 words. Why did we just turn off learning? Why did we get out of college and turn off reading? I mean, you want to talk about being a leader, read. Make yourself read something every day that's going to make you better from somebody else. Because let me tell you something. It's been invented. There are a lot of people. That's why I interview so many people, because they have the knowledge of what's going on in their company, and I want that knowledge. And I was a lousy student. I mean, I went to Georgia Tech, and I just got by. I just wanted the grade. Just give me the stupid grade. I didn't want to learn the subject. I just wanted the grade. And then when I got the grade and got out, and found out now I need this stuff. Now all of a sudden I'm a sponge for learning. So if you want to be a great leader, constantly be reading about how you can improve them from other people, because it's out there. Or go to YouTube and just type it in. And the videos are out there that you can watch.
There's so much. People say, oh, I can't afford, I can't do this, or I can't. I'm like, there's so much free information out there.
Free.
I put stuff out every single week on my blog and on social media, and you put stuff out every single week there's always something that you can learn, and curious people make the best leaders. I think when you're curious and you're constantly investing in yourself. I spent the weekend in December when I've been traveling every single week for the last 6 weeks.
Yep.
And I spent the weekend going to a program, a workshop that was being put on by one of my clients. It was great. It was fantastic. Was it convenient? No, it was not convenient. It was great. And even though the focus was on them, I got stuff that's going to help me and help my clients and so on down the road, because I went to got to keep putting the good stuff in.
Well, that's like criticism. I mean, so many people take back on criticism, and a lot of times it's doled out incorrectly. But forget the fact that they did it incorrectly. The statement is, it's all about a better you, not a better them. So, if you're going to criticize me, then I'm just going to try and listen between the lines and try and take all the politics out of it, or the fact that you might not like me, or this, that, and the other, and see if there's anything that's said that can make me better, because it's about me. How do I get better at it? It's kind of like in my industry, a lot of this is going to be videotaped, and I'm going to watch it. And you can't change the tape. I mean, it tells you exactly what's going on. When I do a speaking engagement, they're taped. And so I'll sit there and I'll watch what I'm doing, if I'm walking too much or if I'm moving. And one of my biggest problems is I talk too fast. Well, I get excited. And so after people hear me, listen to me for a while, they get used to it. All right. Because I just want to share so much information. And I know it's wrong, but that's just who I am. I'm just going to rapid fire it out there. But I'll watch what I'm trying to do to get my point across. And we got to take the criticism and sit there and say to ourselves, how do I make myself better? And that's what it's all about.
I was fortunate to attend, working for a large national builder, the Center for Creative Leadership. Not an inexpensive thing. It's an intense week of your life. I mean, they videotape every moment. If you're on that campus, you are being videoed. Yep. Your interactions with people, eating lunch, like, I mean, everything. And at the end of the week, you're given a corporate psychologist who has followed you throughout the week.
Holy
And
mackerel.
they're going through, and I mean, you want to talk about introspection. This is the most intense introspective, and it's very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was, but honestly, one of the absolute best things that I ever did in my life. And, you know, you had to take every analysis, every personality test, every 360-degree review, I mean, the binder that they give you is like this thick with the stuff that we went through. And it was one of those game changers in my life to be able to go through that. And
That's
while not
intense.
everybody will have the chance, and it's not, like I said, it's not an inexpensive opportunity, and I was so grateful to have it. I think that these are things that we can recreate for ourselves if
Yes.
we're seeking that, and we have that attitude of gratitude of what can I learn? You're going to find what you're looking for.
Mhm.
What can I learn? How can I help? How can I support? That self-talk that you have going on in your head
Mhm.
as a leader is what will be portrayed out.
Well, it's like when I spend a certain amount of time on LinkedIn just scrolling, to find a tidbit that someone else said, or an article that someone else has done that's new and different out there, that's from a different perspective, from a different industry, just to kind of broaden your horizons. And I've hooked up with a lot of different people because of that, all over the world because of that. And then I really look forward to that, because it's something that's going to make me better. So it's kind of like when I was in college, I just wanted the grade. Now I want the knowledge, because the knowledge is going to, a lot of people say knowledge is power. Well, it's not really knowledge is power. It's the use of knowledge. It's power.
Absolutely. You got to
gotta-
apply it.
Yeah, you gotta have the action step there. I mean, you can have I know a lot of smart people that aren't very successful, because they don't have the ability to use the knowledge.
Yeah, you absolutely, you take what you get from it. I always encourage people in any of my workshops. Okay, what was your aha? What did you learn?
Yep.
And now what are you going to do with it?
Now what are you going to do now?
And-
There it is.
Yes, what are you going to do with it? And write those things down, because I'm like, you're going to forget 80% of what I said by tomorrow. It's gone. But those ahas you're going to remember.
Yep.
And then your action, and then you take that next step, and you take those action steps to make it work. And if you'll do that as you're reading the books, if you're not a reader, Audible. I mean, you can get your information in so many different formats. If you like videos, you like to watch TV, watch YouTube. I mean, it's there. There's just so much learning out there. Khan Academy. I mean, just, master classes. Master classes running a 2-for-1 right now. I was like, that's incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. So the saying thank you, let's circle back to that one, because I really think that's such a powerful point. So how can you advise a leader to slow down, I think, probably, and remember to say thank you in a way that sounds genuine, and I mean, hopefully is genuine?
Well, I'll give you an example of what I do. One of the companies I own, we're in the manufacturing business. We manufacture custom contract furniture for the hotel motel industry, so we could build an entire hotel's worth of furniture. And we had lots of people that were on the shop floor that were making furniture. And I would get out there, knowing my people, meeting my people, talking to my people, and everything else. But I would also always make a show of it. I would walk up to somebody in front of a bunch of other people, and we would stop the machines, stop the saws and everything else. And I would sit there and say, you know what? Can't deal with that shit. But right now you're getting ready to leave. And here's some money. And you're going to take you and your significant other, and you're going to take them out for dinner. And I want you to bring me the receipt, so I know that you took them out to dinner. But I want you to leave right now. And I'm doing, like at 9 o'clock in the morning, so they get a day off. And I did it in front of everybody to sit there and say, because what you do great, and you make everybody around you better at what they do. Because I learned when you say that in front of people and other people see that, they want that. They want that praise. And so I would praise other people in front of people just so they would get an understanding of that. And then I would hand them the money and say, get the heck out of here. And it cost me a day's worth of labor, and I had a good person leaving. but it was amazing how they would, I mean, what it did for the other people that saw this. And they knew when I was on the shop floor, someone was getting ready to get some money and someone was getting ready to go to dinner. And I would do it a lot. And so the individual grade, and then the handwritten notes, just sit down. I remember there was one CEO that I talked to, and he says, I carry a book in my pocket. And I'm walking around talking to my people. And after I'll say something, they'll say something personal about their family. He said, and when I get into a corner, he said, I'll write down what they said, about that. My wife's in surgery, or my son's getting ready to get married, or something like that. And then he said, and then I would send them a note. And then I would follow up, and then I would put it in my daytimer, in my tickler file. The wife was having surgery in a week, and then I would send, and he would send flowers to the wife, and find out what's going on with that family. And you want to talk about endear yourself to your people. Holy cow! So it's not just the thank you, and we forget it. We get so wrapped up. I mean, I've owned companies. I mean, you got all this stuff on you. You're trying to pay bills. You're trying to get somebody to pay you, and you're trying to meet all your deadlines. And you got all these things that are going on, and then you forget to say thank you for the people that helped get you there to make all these things happen. And I'm like going, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. So I don't care if you write on your desk or have something on the wall right there. Don't forget to say thank you. So you're constantly saying that to people, and usually you hit the nail right on the head when you said, how do you make it sincere? It's not as you're just out there, but you got to be thinking about what's personal to them. And the next thing you know, it catches on within your organization. I mean, a great company is a culture, and a culture is developed by a leader. So if your culture stinks, the leader stinks. And I'll give you another example. We start about thank you. A lot of times I'll have, I learned a long time ago when I was playing football. There's some bad coaches out there, lousy coaches that I to this day hate. All right. Well, there's a lot of bad managers out there. So I'd have one of my managers come to me and sit there and say, I want you to fire Bill. Why? Bill's just awful. Really, I can't stand Bill. So I go, okay, so you're done with Bill. You don't want anything to do with Bill. Yeah. I said, okay, Bill's mine. What do you mean Bill's yours? Well, you don't want anything to do with him. He's mine now. And then I'd bring Bill into the office and I'd sit there and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I'd put Bill in another department. Why? Because Bill might have had a problem with that manager. And he might not have a problem with this manager. And I would tell the manager that hated Bill, if you say anything to the other manager about him, I'm going to fire you. So just shut up and let's go see if he can go work somewhere else. Maybe he can do better. And I would end up, my rule was three departments. After 3 departments, you're gone. If I get the same feedback from 3 different managers, you're out of here. But what's amazing is sometimes it was just those 2 people didn't get along. Or I had a bad manager. And then all of a sudden, when I get 2 or 3 from that person, I sit there going, maybe I got a manager problem and not a people problem. So a manager that doesn't say thank you, a manager that doesn't believe in encouragement, a manager that, is my way or the highway. I'm the senior vice president. I'm the big guy. Well, yeehaw do you do? That just doesn't fire me up. And I don't think it works well. So thank you to me is powerful.
And there are times when we do, unfortunately, realize we have a mismatch and somebody who's just not qualified for the job, they're not thriving. Something I learned a long time ago, when you've done all you can do and you see that person is still very anxious and struggling, right. And, either A, find them a position where they're not going to struggle, or B, maybe just encourage them to go elsewhere. And, right. Sometimes we have to do that. It's always a tough call, but if you've looked yourself in the mirror and you've gone, self, did I do all I can do?
You do, right. What have I done to cause them to fail? And I've done all the things that I could do to help that person, and I feel comfortable with that. Then sometimes you got to cut because if you don't, other employees see that and they bring themselves down.
Well, and if you're in sales, because a lot of I know a lot of the people on this call are focused on sales. If you're not selling homes and you're not doing what you need to do and taking all the steps, basically that's quiet quitting, and it can literally put a company out of business.
Right.
It can cost other people their jobs if you're not doing your job. So when you have that person, You're either making excuses or you're making sales. I've been saying that for 2 weeks. I've probably said it 20 times because I see the people who are making sales right now in today's market, and they're not making excuses. They're going, all right, yeah, stuff changed. Big deal. Now what do I have to do? I'm gonna go do what I got to do. And you have other people who are going, oh, well, the interest rates. Oh, well, oh, well, oh, I got this cancellation, so we can't give them the want to, but we can support them until we see that they don't have that want to, they don't have that drive.
And there's when you talk about the thank you, one of them, well, I was dealing with a real estate company, and I interviewed their top realtors and got to the number one. And I said, what do you do that helps, to get people to get referrals? She said, when they buy the house, they're going to move in. When they move in, I bring lunch. No big deal. She just brings lunch. She shows up and they're moving into their house, and she said, I knew you were going to be busy, and I knew you weren't going to have time to be able to. And I'm talking about, she brings the lunch, a giant picnic lunch that's just, hey, take 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but here she makes a spectacle of it, and she makes sure everything is taken care of. One simple thank you. And then and all of a sudden they're saying, who sold you this house? Well, Mary sold me this house, or Jane. They talk good about you. And that's, there's so many different, and I hate to call them tricks, but there's so many different things. Birthday cards. How many people, I could ask people right now that are on here, how many birthday cards did you get last year? And you could probably tell me how many you got and who sent them to you. So if I sent you
Christmas cards this time of year,
absolutely.
Christmas cards you get these days.
Yep.
I get a lot of electronic messages.
Exactly. And in fact, you take that as you want to go a step further on that. You want to stand out? Send them a card.
Snail mail. Who's you on the chat? How many of you actively use snail mail?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
So I would be very curious to see, because so few do that. Of course, Tammy does. I know Tammy does.
Okay.
That's why she's got it going on.
You stand out. All of a sudden you get this card, you get a really pretty card, and you go, wow, look at that card. I still like Rob sent that to me, or remember this or remember that. You want to really stand out, get their anniversary date, and then send a card to the man a week before it's saying your anniversary's coming up next week.
That's a good reminder.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay, I'm glad you reminded me. There's so many. Well, a great book, Harvey McKay's book. You got to swim the sharks, not get eaten alive. It's called the McKay 66, and then they sell envelopes. His salespeople average twice the industry average in selling envelopes. And this book is an old book, but it was one of the best things I ever learned in my life. He requires his people to learn 66 different things about the people that they're doing business with. Fantastic book. Now, 66 might be overboard, but the little things that people want to talk about, when you walk into their office and you see they went to the University of Alabama or Florida or Tennessee, just the little things, or they were in the military or where their wife went to school, and you write them down. They used to call me notebook, because in my day we didn't have computers back then. I wrote it down, and
you'll remember it when you do that.
Well, I had 350 accounts worldwide, and I would pick up the phone and call one of my customers, and they might say, Rob, I can't talk right now. My son broke his foot. Got it. Now, what's the next thing that I do? The next thing that I did is I sent a card to his son. Hope you're feeling better. Hope the foot heals fast. All right. But I also wrote it down in my book. All right. So the next time I call, because how do you keep track of 350 different customers and all this stuff? The next time I call, I would look down in my book and it says son broke foot. All right. What's the first thing out of my mouth when I call the customer? How's your son's foot?
How's your son doing? Yeah. How's the foot?
Just.
And we have CRMs today. It's so much easier. You don't have to flip back through your notebook.
Now you just type it in there. You got Salesforce.com. Here we go, baby. We're typing that stuff in there, and away we go. But people don't spend the time writing all the personal things down that's going to make them different. And that's what's going to separate you from everybody else. That you took the time and you listened. In fact, if you're going to be a great leader, the number one attribute you need to have is listening. You've got to be able to listen to what's going on with the customer, what's going on with the salespeople, what's going on with your employees. Listen, just you're not learning anything when your voice is engaged.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's true in sales. And we're in the relationship business.
Right.
And when you understand that you don't sell houses, that's the byproduct. We're in the relationship business. We're in the problem solving business with those relationships. And the same is true within your team. So, and I can tell the energy when I walk into a company and you get, where people they're afraid to talk to me versus those that they're like lined up at the door to talk to me. When I go in to do a SWOT analysis, they're like, well, let me tell you what's going on. And we're working on this, but this is hard. We're struggling. We're on the struggle bus for this. And, they're just open. And I can tell that culture it's an open culture when people do that versus me having to, really prod and pry to try to get there.
Well, I use a thing called Colossogram. You get it out of I think it's in Illinois. Just type in Colossogram. Costs you about $19, and it's a 5-foot by 7-foot telegram that you can put 72 characters on. And you wouldn't believe how much of an impact that has made on customers that I've had, thanking them for the order. All right. Or I remember a lot of times when, one of the companies that I would fly around the country and in 30 days make about 50 stops and see a lot of my customers. And you spend a lot of money flying out there to see them. Well, a lot of times, I remember one time I was dealing with this department store chain, and the guy said, can't see you now. Have a nice day. And I'd flown from Tampa to LA. Not a good deal. So I'd send a Colossogram the next time I was going out there. So really looking forward to seeing you, Bill. It's going to make a big impression, impact on your sales and your profitability. And I send that Colossogram to them. Well, guess what? Never had any more canceled appointments. They were like going. And I had one guy say, well, what are you going to do to top the 5-foot by 7-foot telegram? I said, well, give me the order and I'll show you. And then I sent him a 100-foot banner. So it's just things that just separate you and make you different from other people. But you want to get somebody's attention, wish them a happy birthday and send them a 5-foot by 7-foot telegram. I guarantee you they'll remember you for the rest of their life.
And with Facebook today and LinkedIn, it's easy to find out what somebody's birthday is because they put it right online. So
right there, it's right there. Yeah.
I think having fun. I keep on my desk. This is my mouse pad. It's a fish philosophy. But make their day, have fun, play, be there, and choose your attitude. I mean, these are things that every day I look at this and I go, okay, I'm going to choose my attitude today. I might have just lost a client, or something didn't go well, but I look at that and I'm like, nope, what can I learn from this? So how do you inject fun into the workplace? Because sometimes it can be a drudgery. So, and again, I think we find what we seek.
Well, you're gonna think this is crazy. When I was in the manufacturing business in factories, I had a laugh box on my desk, and we had a big, huge intercom system, and then in the laugh box had babies' laughs. And I mean, the greatest thing in the world.
I love babies' laughs.
When you hear a baby laugh, you gotta laugh. I mean, I don't care what it is; they just cackle at that. And so I would feel like the energy was kind of down and everything else, and so I would just push the button and on the intercom, and I would push the laugh box, and the entire factory would be hearing laughter. And then all of a sudden people would be, oh, there's boss again, maybe that stupid baby laughing thing. But everybody would start laughing. And so
you can't not laugh.
You can't. So what I use now is I use GIFs. I mean, I sit there and I just type in GIF and go right to GIF, and then type in whatever birthday or working hard. Or I had a dear friend of mine of a college football coach, secretary, who is a dear friend, and she works really, really hard. And I knew she was. This is recruiting time and everything else, and bowl season and all that other stuff. And I just send her a GIF of somebody just one-arm paper hanger doing all the things she has to do, and she's just laughing out loud, right? And I just sent her just out of the blue. She said, thank you so much for sending me this. She said, I needed that right now today. I said, just thinking about you. Just boom, pop on the GIF. And all of a sudden someone goes, wasn't that nice? And or send them a card or send them something different. I'm big on gifts.
Yeah, they can be really fun. And
Oh
one
yeah.
of the things as a sale with the sales team, when somebody gets a sale, like we want to celebrate that success. And I, with several of the companies that I've worked with, we've implemented like the group texting where and we try to one up each other with the gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they can go a little off course, but you gotta go, wait a minute, maybe that one wasn't as appropriate as it should be, but they have fun with it and they like the celebration and the person receiving it. It's not clogging up their inbox, so it doesn't go in the email, but it goes like in the Teams chat or in the text or whatever form of internal communication that you have going on. But yeah, just having fun and letting people know that you appreciate them. Look for, again, you're going to find what you're looking for. So if you're looking to have fun and you got a smile on your face, that's going to make all the difference, I think.
And also, I think one thing we need to be very cautious of is, as a speaker, I'm what I refer to as vanilla. I think when you look at your humor, if your humor is offensive to anybody, you've upset one too many people. So in this, and I see a lot of inappropriate language on stage, and I see a lot of inappropriate humor on stage. And I'm like going, and the same is true in the workplace. So I've always said, you be able to say the joke to your mom. If you can't say it to your mom, then you don't need to be able to say it to somebody else, because you don't know who's taking offense, and they might not say anything, but
they might not.
So you got to be really cautious on that.
Yeah, let's talk about attitude too. That was one of the things you told a story in your book about General Creighton Abrams.
Yeah.
With the Battle of the Bulge, and if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about that story, I think this is.
It was at the Battle of the Bulge in World War II, and he called his officers together and he says, "We are surrounded on the north, south, east, and west fronts by the Nazis." And they're like, "Oh, great! What does that mean, General?" He says, "It means we can attack these guys in any direction." And I'm like,
I love that.
I'm like going, that is my kind of general. I mean, you look at it, you go, where in the world are? I mean, there's two ways to look at it. We're going to die, or we're going to go, gosh, we're going to attack them in any direction. We got our choice. That's the kind of person I want to work for. So when you look at yourself as a leader, and it all comes apart, and everybody is taking a look at you, that's when you have to become what? Calm. You don't lose it, because if you do, then it's not going to work. They're taking the lead off of you, and so the next thing, that's what I thought. In fact, I learned a long time ago that sometimes being quiet is one of the best things that you can do, because what you're getting ready to say, because someone, it was my company. You just blew it. You just cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars out of my pocket. All right. Well, do I want to lose that employee, or do I want to teach that employee so we don't have it happen again? Oh, I remember Tom Watson Sr. One of his top salespeople made a $2 million mistake. $2 million mistake. Ooh. And so he packed his bag up, put his stuff in his little box, and was walking out. And they said Tom Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, was in his office looking down and goes, "Where's Bill going?" I said, "Well, he put in his resignation today, sir. He's the one that cost you that $2 million. And Watson went down and grabbed the guy and said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, sir, I cost you $2 million. I resigned and quit." He says, "You're not quitting." He said, "I invested $2 million in your butt. Get it back in there." And so you can take that error and go, okay, we're going to fire the guy, or we're going to, the $2 million is gone. There's nothing you can do with it. You lost the $2 million. Or right. You can retain a great employee and learn from that situation. That was a fantastic analogy that was a real life story from Tom Watson Sr. That's how, his statement is, he was asked, "How can you be great? Double your failures." And then you're going, what? Yeah, because if you're not stretching the bar and learning, then you're not going to, your competition is going to beat you. But his situation was, you made a mistake, I'm going to invest in you, and we're going to learn from this. Now, you do the same mistake again, you're toast. You're out of here. I don't need twice.
We have to learn from the mistake. Yes, not continue to make the
Yeah.
same mistakes.
Yeah.
We're builders. We tend to do this a little slower.
Yeah.
So we don't move. We move at kind of a snail's pace, but we do move.
Yep.
We do improve. So, and honestly, some of the best leaders that I've known have come from home building because they're just genuine, real people. So that forgiveness is key, and having that great attitude about it. We also talk about setting expectations. So communication to me is one of the forefronts. That's one of the most important things that we can do, because we were talking about assuming and what a problem that is. If we don't have those clear expectations, we don't have those policies and procedures, we don't communicate effectively, you can't really hold people accountable for that.
No. You know, one of the two things occur when you start talking about a mistake. All right, and the main thing is I want to know why it occurred. All right, I don't care who. I don't care. In fact, when someone says, you know, who did that, I'm not really interested in who did that. Why did it occur? And so now you go find out why that occurred, and you've got to figure out, you know, were they not knowledgeable of what's going on? Were they not trained properly? Was there not a policy or procedure, you know, or a rule in place that is going to help them with that? Because if it's not, then it's on you. It's management. You didn't have that person properly prepared for that situation, or has that situation never occurred before and they blew it? They made the wrong choice. You know, so now you have to teach them how to make those decisions. You can maybe get somebody else involved. One of the clients I had, one of my clients, Tennessee Valley Authority, big time player. All right, has a thing called the pit screw. And when something is the pits just falls apart, they call it the pit screw. And now, what does that mean as a manager? It means that you release control. These 6 people show up and they take a look at the situation and they analyze what's going on. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to be the manager anymore. It just means that you couldn't get this thing resolved, and they bring in the players that have no concern about your title, that have no concern about seniority, that have no concern about, you know, tenure, that have no concern about all. Their job is to fix the problem. And then they say, okay, this is what has to be done. This is what occurred, and this is how we make sure it never happens again. Boeing, one of my clients, has a thing called the eyes of the enemy. And what they'll do is they'll take 6 or 7 of their people and they'll say, okay, you guys bleed Boeing blood. You've been with us for a gazillion years, and we want you to become spies. And when Boeing has it's the most amazing thing I've ever been. I was there for 3 days. They have a $60 million training facility in St. Louis, right there on the river. And for about 300 days a year, they bring in leaders from all over the world, and they spend time teaching them how to be leaders. And so I learned this when I was there for 3 days, you know, sharing my stuff on leadership. But I'm gleaning from them. And they talk, it's called the eyes of the enemy. They'll take these 6 people and say, okay, for the next 6 months, you're going to be spies. We want you to take all the resources of our organization, whatever you need, and figure out how you can take us down. Where are we weak? Where can we be beaten by our enemies? And then they come back and they report. And then they fix those things where they're weak. They're looking for them. They want to know, and that's exactly how they get their people involved. So when you're thinking about how you're
breaking points, yeah,
where are your mistakes? How do you fix it? How did this occur? And then, as you said, if you know, and then the other side of the coin is you might have a policy or procedure. I call it. I always say have an annual policy meeting. You throw a policy out there and you go, why do we have that? I'm not sure. What do you mean? Well, that was good 8 years ago, but we don't do that anymore. Okay, get rid of it. Simplify. Walmart, one of my clients, they have a thing called a stupidity. What's the stupidest thing that we have a meeting? They give out awards and prizes and everything else. And the question is, what's the stupidest thing that we do here at Walmart? And then they listen to what their people have to say. And so and when I do strategic planning sessions for companies, one of the biggest problems I have is people sharing the information. And also when I do strategic planning sessions, I'll ask the tenure of the people that are in the room. They'll say, well, they've been there 25 years, 30 years, 17 years, 18 years. And I said, but you don't have any young people. Well, this is a Fortune 500 company, Robert. We're not going to have young people in the room, only the real important senior managers. And I'm like, well, then I'm not going to do the gig. Why? I said, because the guy that's been there for 25 years, when he opens his mouth, the guy that's been for 30 years can finish the stupid sentence. It's the same minutia over and over and over again. We need some interjection from the younger people. But I also found this. If they say it on the floor, it's going to get squashed by the senior people. So what we do is we have ideas shared and everybody's assigned a number. And the only person that has a number is me. And then when we put the ideas up on the screen, it just has the number there. And then people vote on those ideas that are on the screen. They don't sit there and know that that was from a person that's 25 years old and just got out of college. They don't know that's from a person that's just been in the company 6 months and it came from another company. They don't, there's no prejudice. The only thing that has power is the idea. And so you put it up there on the screen, and then we will work with all these different ideas, and then we'll do that for 3 days. And at the end, we'll come up with the top 2 or 3 ideas that we need to have that are going to make the company better. And then I share whose idea it was. And sometimes it turns out to be that 25-year-old just got out of school. And guess what?
Fresh perspective.
They're exactly fresh perspective. And their stock in the company goes way up. But if that person had shared that at the beginning, it would have never made it to the end. Because a lot of these people, that wasn't my idea. It wasn't from my department. It wasn't for this. It wasn't for that. And I find that really kills companies. I mean, learn from the young and learn from the old. Everybody can contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. And that fresh perspective, what I call the newbie perspective, right?
Yep.
It's so often that can be contagious, and they just have a different way of looking at it. So sometimes we just do things because that's the way we've always done them. And those are the things that
7 key words that kill a company. That's the way we've always done it.
Absolutely. So as we're reaching the top of the hour here, what do you think the best advice for building a winning team is?
Well, it starts with your culture. I mean, when you start talking about it, I've always tried to teach managers, act like there's a camera on you. And by the way, today there is.
There probably is, yeah.
There is a camera, but act like there's a camera on you at all times, because they're going to see what you do and act it out, because just like a child. But I'll never forget, I got hired by Anheuser-Busch at Busch Gardens there in Tampa. And Donnie Mills was their general manager. Donnie Mills had started with Busch Gardens when he was 16 years old and was the youngest general manager they'd ever had in the history of the company. He was 32 when I did this. I did 3 speaking engagements for him. And so we're talking and we're meeting and we're walking over to this giant facility that's going to house 2,500 people, and we're going to do this speaking engagement in a beautiful place. And we're walking across Busch Gardens, and there's a piece of trash. What does Donnie do? Picks it up. Picks it up, puts it in a trash can. Walks a little bit further, there's another piece of trash. Picks it up, puts it in a trash can. We walk towards this place. This is the general manager of Busch Gardens. I mean, he doesn't need to pick up the trash. That's not his job. He's got people that pick up the trash. Not Donnie. Donnie's picking it up and he's putting it in the trash.
You lead by example. It's your job.
And he says, right. So he says, "You're probably wondering why I'm picking up the trash, Rob." And I said, "Yeah, I kind of wondered that." He said, "Well, one of our rules is you can't ever walk by it when you're on the property. How in the world could I ever walk by it?" He said, "I can't walk by it." He said, "It's in my blood. I can't walk by it." Lead by example. So when you get an understanding of what's going to make these people do and create the want-to, the first thing is they're watching you. If you're yelling, screaming, ranting, and raving, guess what? Then that's acceptable. I always taught other managers, if you see somebody taking somebody down in front of somebody else, walk over there and say, "We don't do that here." What? We handle that a different way. We never do that in public, and we don't really do it in private the way you're doing it. You're going to need to chill out here. So you've got everybody's got to see how this culture goes down. And when you start your meetings, as you said, when you start talking about fun, well, then have some fun. Have something that's going to get everybody riled up and laughing and having a good time and create energy in the room. They learned a long time ago that productivity goes up when people are having fun. 31% more productivity in your company and 56% higher sales because people are having fun. But no, we're going to have a meeting and everybody's going to be miserable in my meeting and I'm going to run the meeting and it's going to be boring and that's yay. I mean, when I do speaking engagements, I sit there and I look at my entire program and I'm figuring out where I'm going to put different things in there for laughter to energize the audience, to make them feel good about what's going on because they retain my information better. But no, let's just give them all the data and then say this is how it's going to happen. And when they leave the meeting, they need to be energized. So if you're not doing something that's making them fired up, you're doing it all wrong. So as far as I'm concerned, when you start talking about how you can be a greater, better leader, it's the attitude that you have, the attitude that you convey, and you know, people have always asked me, Rob, are you always in a good mood? No, but I'm always trying to get there because I learned a long time ago that people like me better when I am there. Let's check it out.
Tracy's shared a video in the chat. So if you guys don't have the chat open, Procon happy video.
Oh, so, it's Procon is a fantastic building company in the Northeast, and Tracy's their marketing director, and I have seen that video. And they took a lot of time and spent a lot of money putting it together, and it's of their entire company doing crazy things. And it's if you haven't, go see it to show what you want to see what their culture is all about. I've worked for them, I think 3 times, if she'll correct me. But then they are just amazing people, and they have the camaraderie because when I'm interviewing them, I'm talking to them and finding out, you know, what do they like about the company, and they love it, and they love the senior management. It's a great culture.
So I mean, it tells you that they're connecting with people on a human level, and you know, the thing about connecting with people in your company is you learn what other people's strengths are, not just their job, but what is their strengths. So if you're not the fun rah-rah person for the meeting, there's probably somebody in your company who is. Tap them and give them that job to come up with the fun, to come up with something creative, and then trust them to do it. You know, give them the parameters, and you know, everything doesn't have to fall when you're a leader. That's part of it, is you figure out what everybody's strengths are, and then we can play to everybody's strengths, and it just makes the company, it makes the team much better. So, well, I see we could talk about this all day, and I'm so appreciative of your time and everybody's time. That we've had a great group here today, with everybody chiming in on the chat and sharing ideas. Thank you. I thank you very much for joining us, and I've loved this conversation. I hope you guys did too. And I will send out the video to everybody, and I'll send out the way to get a hold of Rob. So if you have any further questions for him, and I'm sure you will, and of course, buy his books for sure. Go on his website and check those out. So Rob, thank you again for joining, and we're gonna have to do this one again.
Thank you so much. I'd love to. It'd be my pleasure.